Hari Om. Good morning. Welcome back. We will get started. Gananaan tva ganapatigum havamahe kavim kavinamupamashravastamam jeshtarajam brahmanam brahmanaspata anashunvannutibhissedasadanam prano devi saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinama Vityavat Om Ganeshaya Namaha Om Saraswatyai Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavedyankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brahaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma vadishyami, Rutam vadishyami, Satyam vadishyami, Tanmamavatu, Tadvaktaramavatu, Avatu mam, Avatu Vaktaram, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Estushtvagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitayadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivardham Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Vagishadya Sumanasaha Sarvartanam Upakrame Yam Natva Kritakrityasyuhu Tam Namami Gajananam Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रमकल्मषम् पराशरात्मजं वन्दे सुखतातं तपोनिधिम् व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनौ देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिम् द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतम् भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि सद्गुरुं तं नमामि समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं यस्य सन्निधिमात्रेण सर्वे शिष्याश्च सेवकाः कर्मक्षेत्रे प्रवर्तन्ते चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम् चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम्. Let's start with today's lecture. Before that, let's do a quick recap. We started with Shreya, Preya, Viveka, along with several aspects of our culture, our Adhyatma Samskriti, our Bhautika Samskriti. In general, we started in pursuit of happiness. Along the way, we learned that there are three subdivisions of Vedas: the Karma Kanda, Upasana, Jnana Kanda. We learned about Karma Siddhanta, the types of karmas, how to divinize our actions, how to turn karma to karma yoga. We learned how to divinize our emotions through bhakti, making the mind single pointed. We learned a little bit about our Upanishads, also called as Vedanta. That is where we are dwelling a little more. We learned about Prasthana Trayi, the Shruti Prasthana, the Smruti Prasthana, the Nyaya Prasthana. We learnt about the four sample Mahavakyas. leading to the ultimate reality of Brahman. Then we took our journey to study a little bit of Dharma Shastra, Manusmriti, Chaturvida Lakshana of Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, and 10 of its eternal values. We learnt about Varnashrama Dharma. And in that, I also covered Gunatraya Viveka, 3 gunas of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamo Guna. We talked about the broad classification of Varnashrama Dharma, Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudra, and how the classification is based on Guna and Karma, not Janma Karma, Janma Vivagashah. We talked about the 5 koshas, the Pancha koshas being Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya kosha. Then we discussed 2 important logic, the Atma Anatma Viveka and Drik Drishya Viveka, the seer and the seen logic. Madhiyatvena Gnatam Atma Na Bhavati. The Neti approach that the Upanishads have talked about. The negation of what I am not, arriving at what is further that cannot be negated. So in our journey, we have talked about Gunatraya Viveka, Panchakosha Viveka, Shariratraya Viveka, Avastatraya Viveka, coming to the nature of the self. And the nature of Paramatma, we had discussed AAA as our problem, which is Advitiya Atma Agnanam. It is due to Adhyasa, the superimposition, Avidya or Maya, leading to my notional identity with Ahankara. We had covered the nature of the self. The Shastras say that we are that Satchidananda Swarupa, that nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss. And I gave you the pointers through Swarupa Lakshana, Tatastha Lakshana, and Atad Vyavrutti Lakshana. Now, but the bondage, if I am of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, one may say, hey, I don't feel that way. I feel limited. I feel finite. That parichinnatva. We covered those aspects, that there are 3 limitations that we feel. One due to space, called Desha Paricheda. Then we feel limitations due to time, Kala Paricheda, and objectal limitation or Vastu Paricheda. We reviewed, because of these limitations, I have what we call as Jiva Bhava. I feel that I look at it as a limited entity, and because of that, I feel different types of differences. Sajatiya Veda, Vijatiya Veda, Swagata Veda, all these differences in me and others, excuse me, that I see. Then we reviewed the famous example, excuse me, the classic example of the rope and the snake, the post and the ghost. to understand the effect of the illusion, the effect of the concept of Maya. In that example, we saw that the non-apprehension of the rope leads to the misapprehension of the snake. Similarly, the non-apprehension of Brahman, we have the misapprehension of this world filled with Nama and Rupa. So Maya is that which appears to be. Ya Maya sa iti Maya. Trigunatmika Maya. That which has no independent existence. It cannot exist on its own. I gave you the example of the rope and the snake and the movie screen. How the movie is ongoing on the screen and the screen is unaffected. And we also discussed that Maya has two powers, the Avarana Shakti, the veiling power, and the Vikshepa Shakti, that which projects the unreal. And Avarana Shakti, what it does, it covers the truth and what is real. And Vikshepa Shakti comes in, projects the unreal, makes it seem real. This is Agadita Gatana Samarthyam, to make impossible possible. Then I introduced you to a couple of terminologies of Upadana Karana, material cause, and Nimitta Karana, efficient cause. I gave you the example of mud and the pot, etc. So therefore, this avidya, this ignorance, creates three types of problems in me. Because of that, I don't know. How it can be cured? It can be cured by Shravana, by listening to a spiritual master, directly or indirectly. That problem of I don't know goes away. Then you have the problem of I cannot understand all this. And the masters say, reflect on what you have heard through the process of manana, internalizing what we have heard. Then you have, I have no experience of this. There is no anubhava. And nirantara abhyasa with nididhyasana. That contemplation on what you have heard. What we have heard will give us that anubhava or anubhuti. That leads us to our BMI chart, body, mind, intellect chart that our Gurudev used. In that, the vasanas is what we are going to talk about. That conditioned experience that creates this problem. So this avidya or ajnana, last week we discussed this is the problem that creates or the root cause of our bandhana, that puts us deep into this ocean of samsara. What it does, it has twofold effect. What it does, anatmani atma buddhi. It creates a notion that the self is there in the not self. Anatmani Atma Buddhi. This is that misapprehension caused by ignorance. What it does create identification with the gross body. It creates identification with the subtle body. It creates identification with the causal body, and so on. Because of that, I have several identities with each of those, which I am not. Then the second problem it creates due to ignorance is that Jagati Satyatva Buddhi, a notion of reality that this world is real. This creates that reality given to the names and forms, Nama and Rupa, creates reality in the world of objects, beings, and emotions, and so on and so forth. This is where Vedanta comes in and says knowledge alone can put an end to this level of ignorance. Just like light alone can remove darkness, only by the knowledge of that Satchidananda principle, that the notion of self in the not self and the notion of reality in the world can be removed. Bhagavad Gita also talks about this famous ladder of fall. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammohaha Sammohat Smriti Vibhramaha Smriti Bhramshat Buddhi Nashaha Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. You know, as the ball, those of us who were playing ball during our childhood on the stairs, we know the ball rolls down the staircase. The first step, it falls gently. And the second step, it gathers momentum with higher and higher speed. And it takes longer leap, and before you know it, it is gone. So for a sadhaka, it is important to watch in our journey to catch the fall early and recover. What this shloka is saying is brooding on the object, Vishayan Pumsa, that causes attachment. From that attachment, it gives rise to desire. It is strengthened by more and more fuel in terms of desire to enjoy more and more of the same. And this desire within us causes that agitation. And when I fulfill that desire, if the results meet my expectation, I am temporarily happy. If it does not meet my expectation, I perform action then it causes sadness. It makes me unhappy. If it consistently does not meet my expectation, then I get frustrated. I get dejected. That frustration leads to anger. Anger leads to delusion. Krodad bhavati sammohaha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smriti vibhramaha. That smriti bhramshat. Buddhi nashaha. He loses his objective thinking. That leads to pranashyati. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha pranashyati. Then one might ask, how do I prevent this fall? By staying firm on our true nature. Not brooding over objects constantly, and by reducing non-conducive desires. But the best solution for this is in Bhaja Govindam, a text at some point we will study. Satsangatve Nissangatvam. By association with good people, Satsanga, you automatically get non-attachment. Nissangatve, by detachment, you become nirmohatva, free from delusion. Nirmohatve nischalatatva. When you become free from this delusory thinking, we get closer to reality. And with that nischalatatve jivan mukti. From that reality, it leads to liberation, free from samsara. This is the path from bandha to buddha. So we need to remember in our journey that our vasanas, as our vasanas, so our thoughts. So our rishis, our elders, they asked us to control everything at the thought level. Because our thoughts determine our actions. If we control our thoughts before it becomes a desire, then we have changed the timber of our life. How can we effect these changes? Vedanta says 3 ways you can do. 1, by reducing the quantity of our thoughts. Unnecessarily thinking about something, brooding over something, unnecessarily creating these agitations, avoid it, right? And by improving the quality of our thoughts, associating ourselves with a higher ideal, setting up ourselves with loftier goals, achievable goals, meaningful goals in life. and changing the direction of our thoughts to that higher ideal. So even after one has come to know intellectually, through knowledge, through the study of Vedanta, that I am that Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, I am that blissful nature of Atma. The world is only a bunch of Nama and Rupa, a bunch of names and forms, and it is a mere appearance. We all experience bondage or bandhana because of the persistence of notion that I am the doer. That is called as kartritva. I am the experiencer, called bhoktritva. Coupled with the presence of likes, raga, dislike, dvesha, and all other negative tendencies. In fact, what prevents the fructification of the intellectual knowledge into experiential wisdom, from gnana to vijnana, is because of the power of habitual tendencies called vasanas. In fact, Adi Shankaracharya ji puts it beautifully in Viveka Chudamani, verse number 267. Gnate vastunyapi bhalavati vasana adiresha karta bhokta pi ahamati druda yasya samsara hetuhu pratyagdrushtatmani nivasata sapaneya prayatna muktim prahustadiha munayo vasadātānavam yat. Here, what Shankaracharya ji is saying is, even after one intellectually understands and knows the nature of Paramatma or Atma, vasanas are our innate tendencies that creates the notion I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, and so on, will still remain strong and is samsara hetuhu, is the cause of samsara, cause of bondage. We think samsara has samsara. Sam is the English sum, sara is the essence. We think it has some essence, but it is asara. How? He says, kadali garbhavat, like the trunk of a banana stump. You start feeling there is nothing in it. I actually like the peeling of the onion example better in this situation, because as you start to peel, it also gives you tears. The engagement with the world is such that it constantly gives you dukkham. That's why in Bhagavad Gita he says, Dukkhalayam, Ashashvatam, all that is this peeling of the onion. So in Vedanta, we talk about Vasana Traya, 3 types of Vasanas. Loka Vasana, Shastra Vasana, and Deha Vasana. Loka Vasana is an inherent tendency of a person, all of us, in some point or the other, to live a life imitating a false set of values, undesirable habits. To earn, what do we do that? To earn the appreciation and respect of others. This is when person has Loka Vasana. When these type of vasanas are dominant, the person will lead a life of unintelligent imitation. Imitation of others in the society and in sense indulgences. Kind of like blind following some patterns. Kind of living up to the Joneses, like they say. What they do, they will always act so that the others will not censure me. They will always praise me. I'm going to start. I'll narrate a small story to illustrate a Loka Vasana from the parables. There was an elderly man in a village, an old man. He had a grandson and they had a little donkey. This story is again to illustrate Loka Vasana, how people think and talk. He was walking along with his grandson, along with the donkey. And they heard someone in the crowd. They said, look at this old man and this boy. How foolish are they? They have a donkey and they are walking instead of riding on it. Somebody in the crowd said that. So hearing this, the old man was a little disturbed. He told the young boy to ride on the donkey. And they were riding along till they crossed another group of people. And they heard, today's children, I tell you, they have no respect for elders. Look at the audacity of this little boy. This elderly person is walking, and he is happily riding along on this donkey. So what did they do? The little boy jumped off the donkey, and then he asked his grandpa, "You ride it. You ride the donkey." And they were going along. A few minutes later, they heard, "Wow, look at this old man. He is so mean. He's letting this little boy walk, and he is riding along." They heard the thing, and what did they do? They both jumped on the donkey and started riding on it. They were riding along, and a few minutes later, they heard one man yell at them and said, "Don't you have any pity on that donkey? How can you both ride on that little fella? Have some sympathy." So goes the story along and ends on a very humorous note. What did they do? The old man and the little boy, they tied the feet of the donkey and was carrying between them. This story goes to illustrate a strong Loka vasana, how ridiculous it becomes, or the fate of people who are always trying to please what others say, please other people. They have no conviction of their own. Then comes our Shastra Vasana. So that story was to illustrate when you are dominant with Loka Vasana. So we can judge for ourselves how our behavioral pattern is. Then comes Shastra Vasana. Shastras are meant to be used as pointers. The amount of texts we study, all the amount of studies is towards to experience the self. Our Gurudev always used to say, they are like the pointers. We have to look in the direction indicated by the pointer. Otherwise, it's like looking at the road map and you see a milestone which says Michigan 20 miles and assuming you have reached your destination. Similarly, scriptures are means or methodology to reach the truth. If a student mistakes the intellectual thrill that is obtained by the scriptural study as the experience of the self itself, it is like mistaking the recipe or a menu card for the delicious food. It is important to do swadhyaya, study of the scriptures, but not to overemphasize on any particular aid, because it turns into an obstacle in the progress of the sadhaka. There are many instances in the Puranas where one time in the story, Durvasa Muni, he goes to see Lord Shiva with a load of books, and then Narada Muni happens to be there at that time and compares Durvasa Muni with this load of books to a donkey carrying a load, thus pointing to Durvasa Muni that knowledge of the self, this Atma Gnana, cannot be obtained by mere mastery of the Vedas. It requires a lot of internalization. It requires a lot of contemplation. Then comes the Deha Vasana. Again, we turn to our Guru Adi Shankaracharya ji. He says, the one who has passionate attachment to the body and the body vestibules is like somebody who is trying to cross the river on the back of a crocodile, mistaking that to be a log of wood. It is important to take care of the body. It is important to take care of this vehicle for sadhana, but it is important to give up unnecessary indulgence in Dehavasana and to avoid unnecessarily caring for it. So what these Vasana Traya does is it plunges the sadhaka to what we call as Anartha Parampara, or a domino of calamitous succession. It is called as avidya, kama, karma. It's kind of like sorry go around. Vasana or avidya at the causal body plane, it leads to a desire, kama or chinta or desire at the subtle body level, leading to karma, to do act at the gross body level. So vasana, chinta, karya. Vasana, chinta, karya. Accumulate more vasana, chinta, karya. That avidya, kama, karma. Avidya, kama, karma. That is called the sorry go around. Not the merry-go-round, because of the cycle of ignorance, it is the sorry go around. If we are able to weaken our negative tendencies, then we can break this cycle, carry forward to a cycle of progress. That leads us to our symbolism topic today, Before we go to our symbolism topic, I want to talk to you. We are going into the Thanksgiving weekend. As Vedanta students, we need to remember to express our gratitude, krutagnata, to the entire Guru Parampara and express our gratitude to get the blessings of our teachers, to be grateful to the knowledge that they have imparted in our lives, and to express that krutagnata is an important aspect of the student and the teacher relationship in our tradition. So, in the symbolism topic today, although it's a little early, we are going to talk a little bit about the legend of Holi or the symbolism of Holi. Since we were talking about Vasana Kshaya, I thought this may be relevant from that topic. The spiritual significance of this festival is that Prahlada is the devotee of Lord Vishnu. He worshipped Lord Narayana. His father was the demon Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu had a boon from Lord Shiva that he cannot be killed by a man, he cannot be killed by an animal, he cannot be killed by any weapon, he cannot be killed inside, he cannot be killed outside, he cannot be killed during the day, he cannot be killed at night, and so on and so forth. He had become nearly invincible. In his inimitable style, he thought no one could ever kill him now or forever. No one could vanquish him. So he started to take it to the next level and he proclaimed, I am God, worship me. But this little Prahlada had refused. You know Prahlada's story, even in his womb, when he was in the mother's womb, he had heard stories of Bhagavan Krishna, Lord Narayana. So in the kingdom of Hiranyakashipu, he had started the first Balavihar, teaching all the Asura kids as to how to worship Lord Narayana. When the ministers told Hiranyakashipu, he had become furious. He became the worst enemy of his own son. He tried to kill him by any means, get rid of him. So he sent his sister Holika, who had a boon. that she will never get burnt with fire. So the plan was grab this little kid, jump into the fire, and she will come out unscathed. But in this case, when she jumped into the fire, she got burnt. And Prahlada was rescued by Bhagavan Narayana. So the Holika Dahana that we do represents burning of those type of desires for a spiritual sadhaka. Spiritually, it means our actions are burnt in that fire of knowledge and devotion. And when we throw the colors at each other, the colors stand for coloring your heart with love, positivity, devotion, all that. And Holi comes in the spring, a change of spring season from winter to spring also brings in different colors. That is also represented here. We will end the session here today. We will do the concluding prayers. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrutyorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you, and we will see you next week. Although it's the Thanksgiving weekend, we will still have this lecture, same time from 10 to 11. Look forward to seeing all of you. Hari Om.